Okay, so in this video, we're actually going to go ahead and complete our parking lot request app right here in the Tesla parking garage. So just a recap of what's done so far. So we have a nice app here with profile picture, current user's name. You click on next and then they ask for the badge number. You can put that in. I already have my badge number in there. Click next. And then here it has the date that you need the parking spot. Click next. And then allow you to select which parking lot that you actually want to reserve a parking spot. Now what we need to do when we click next is actually there are different request types for the parking spot. So if you need a Tesla charger, a generic charger, maybe a handicap spot, wherever the case may be, that's where we are now. So in order to get that out, and I think that it's going to be very similar to what we have here, the biggest difference is that each one of the special need options are going to have a different photo displayed in the gallery. So let's jump in and see how we will actually handle that. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and take screen 3. We want to duplicate this. We talked about duplicating existing screens will save you a ton of time. And here now let's just go ahead and rename this because we want to stay in our sequential order that we have. So I'm renaming both my screen and my form to kind of give it that unique ID. And I want it to be a pretty ID because sometimes I need to reference it inside of the button clicks or something like that. Okay, so here we have the form step 4. What I need to do is actually get rid of this data card because I actually have another site column that actually going to have my parking spot options or special need options. So I just select my form control, go into edit here, and let's go ahead and pull that out. And I think it's called special. Here we go. So we have special type and we have special type other. And we need both of these because what's happening is that with special type, if the user selects other, then we want them a field or a way to specify what's other, what's different about it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and collapse these, position these in the order that are needed. Actually, I want to just pull my buttons down. And we talked about wrapping your buttons in a special data card control in the previous video, which is really handy, especially with this special type other, and you will see that here in a second. All right, so we're done with this. So let's just go ahead and remove that parking structure. And now we have a new set that we're playing with. So if I hold down the Alt key, you can see my special options there. So if it's handicap, a generic charger, a Tesla charger, or the other, right? And then in this one, I have the other. So one of the things we want to do, we want to give them a little bit more breathing room. So when I'm going to this type, I'm going to tell them to edit multi-line. And what that's going to do is give me more real estate and then allow the text to wrap. Okay, so now I need to punch these colors out because my labels are that dark red on the black. It's not enough contrast. So let's go ahead and pop those out and then we're ready to go. Okay, so now what we want to do, let's go ahead and drop in our gallery. And this is going to be very similar to what we've done before. So to drop in the gallery, you go into the screen, you hit the plus sign here, search on gallery. You have many different galleries. We're going to go with the horizontal gallery, and that's going to drop that in. Now, if I go and see where that dropped it dropped it in right here at the screen level. That's not what we need, but what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and decorate this up, reposition, get our template spacing right, and we actually want this to wrap 2 lines. So we talked about this in a previous video where you take the wrap count, bump that up to 2, and I think in the previous one we did like a 3 or something like that, which is fine. And then, and these get a little tricky to select if you're not careful. These are actually pretty tedious to work with. Now, the good news is I'm not going to sit here and waste time and try to reconfigure this because we're going to build this up exactly very, very similar to what we did in the previous screen. So let's just do this. Let's just go into the previous screen, go into that data card, copy it, right? You know, you always want to, you put a lot of work into some of these, so you want to take advantage of your work by copying the existing and then pasting those in. All right, so let me do this. I'm actually losing my weight here, so let me just delete that temporary one. And we want to paste it into the special type data card. So I select the data card, select the ellipse, hit paste. Oh, it's locked. Okay, so we need to go ahead and unlock it. Before you add anything to the data card, it must be unlocked. So that pop-up unlocked it for me. And now hit paste, and nothing happens. And this was expected. This is a weird quirk, a weird little kink that I've noticed, especially with dealing with data cards, right? And we saw that in the past, where you go and insert a data card, even though insert a gallery, even though you have your data card selected, it drops it inside the screen level. And the same is similar with the paste. It seems like for this data card to get this into, this gallery, I keep calling it a data card. This gallery, to get into the data card, you first have to paste it at the screen level, then copy it from the screen level, and then go down and paste it inside of your data card. And then that would go ahead and drop it exactly where you want it. So now that we have it in our data card, we're actually ready to rock and roll. So there's a few adjustments that we need to do. First thing we want to do is hide the default data card text value control that comes with this data card by default. So let's just go over here to visible property and turn that off. Select it there. And then what we want to do is, these are our parking lot structure, right? So everything that we had configured in this data card in the previous screen came over with the paste, which is to be expected. That's what paste does. So what we want to do is take the data card that comes default to, the text control that comes default to the data card, select this guy, and then come up here, very similar to what we did in the last, and make this our collection for our gallery. And as soon as I do that, all the drop-down options I had in that default drop-down control are now going to be available to my gallery, and which is great. I don't have that many options for this particular gallery, so what I want to do is go ahead and change that wrap count to 2, and that should give me a nice, perfect square, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. I'm going to adjust this template a little bit. The template is actually taking up way too much real estate. And then I want to adjust my data card, give my label some breathing room here, and then kind of push this label down a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to rock and roll. I can extend this data card, and watch what's happening. As I extend this data card, it's pushing everything else down, as the form control does naturally. This is why I'm a huge fan of the form control. And when you have that form control, go ahead and drop in your buttons within the custom data card, so that way you get this fluid height adjustment. All right, enough with that. Let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so now as we push it forward, we want to have, so a couple of things we want to wire up here. The first thing we want to wire up, I'm holding my Alt key. As I'm selecting these, if I select other, and only when I select other do I want this special type other to pop up. Also, when I select other, I want this to be required. So I don't want them to blow past this and not give us a description. So we want to make it required. So in order to do that, it's actually pretty straightforward, especially the fact that we copied our gallery from our previous screen. What we need to do is select our image, because this is one that has the on-click event, or on-select as it's called in Power Apps. And what it's doing is selecting this global variable, keyword global variable. It's selecting this global variable that we used in the previous screen. Now, we don't want to do that because things will get confusing and nasty real quick. So we want to create a new variable, and we're just going to call it select special. And then we want to do the exact same logic. Whatever the current value is for the current selected item, dump it into this global variable, and that's what we're going to have here. So now I'm going to just copy this. Now I can go down to my data control, and the logic is pretty straightforward, as you guessed it. So I'm going to just select that variable and say if it's equal to other, meaning that the selected value stored here is equal to other, then I want it to show, right? If it's not equal to other, and then it should not show. So if I hold down my Alt key and start clicking here, hold down my Alt key and start clicking, nothing happens. What happened? So select this value, store it in select special. That looks right. Something's not right. Hold on my Alt key. Oh no, it's working. You know what's off? That's throwing me off. It's the check icon is not responding. So the check icon, if we look at the visibility, again, this is some copy and paste residue. It's still looking at the old variable that we're using in the previous screen. We just need to update this to use our new variable. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We want to if the var select special is this value that's stored in here equal to the value of the current item, then that's when you show the icon for that item, right? So now once we updated the logic for the icon, now we get a nice visual that shows that we're actually clicking something, which is good. And if you look at my other box, it's responding to my clicks where it only displays when I'm clicking other. All right, great. So now the other thing we want to do is the required field. So what we want to do is copy the same logic that we're doing to set visibility and then go to required and have that respond to the same logic. Now this is locked, so let's unlock it and then paste that in, and that's what it's going to do. Oh, that require is, it's not punchy. So let's go ahead, let's select that require icon or the asterisk icon. Instead of the red, it naturally wants to be red because it is used to the background being white, so there's enough contrast. But now we're going to make it white on black, and that's going to be good. So now what it's going to do, so now we're primed and ready to go, because now if I select other, not only is it going to show it, it's going to make it required, and when we come back and put our validation into our buttons, they won't be able to proceed unless they actually specify something. On the flip side, if it's not displayed, meaning that they did not select other, there's not going to be a validation check. They're going to be able to go next because other is not selected, so we're not going to make it require, and that's just a natural way of doing things. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Okay, lastly, before we wrap up, the big one that we really want to try to tackle. Now, the big one is for handicap, there's a different icon. For the Tesla charger, we want to show an icon of the Tesla charger. For the EV charger, that icon. So we have these unique icons for items in the gallery. So how do you pull that off? So the first thing we want to do is go to the image control, and then we want to make sure we select the image property. And right now it's defaulting to the Tesla logo, which we uploaded in the previous video, and that was a copy and paste, so that's why we're seeing that now. Now what we want to do, if I go to this data source and then click edit, this is the easiest way to drop me into the subsite that's actually housing the list that app is using. And let me just flip over here to site contents. And then I think I have in the images gallery. So in the images gallery, here we go. So I have all these icons. If I click on here, there's my EV charger. If I go back, click on another one. There's my other option. Okay, so all my icons are here. So here's the trick. The trick is that whatever your choice option value is, so EV charger, handicap, other, Tesla charger, whatever the name of the value in the drop down, name your file that same name. Now you would notice that some of my names like Tesla charger has spaces in them. So we're going to talk about how do you remove the spaces and dynamically respace those with hyphens, so that way the URL to these images will still be valid. So how do you get the URL to this image? That's usually the tricky tucked away feature. So the tricky tucked away feature is you select the actual file that you want to grab, come over here to the info icon, scroll all the way to the bottom. They actually have a path, and you can they have this copy option. They call this the direct link. So once you copy that, let me pop this open in Notepad so you kind of see what we're actually copying. So if I copy that, paste that in, this gives you the URL that you expect, right? And it's not intuitive. It's not, I mean, the other way is not intuitive. So the other way is that you want to click on this and you want to copy this nasty thing, right? So let's just look and see these in comparison and how they differ. And one is going to be security charge, almost like a share link feature, meaning that I'm going to share a link to this file, and only the people that actually have a link to this file is going to be able to see it. This doesn't look like a link to a image at all compared to what we have here. So we want to play with this guy. So I go ahead and select this and copy it, pop back over here to our Power App, and then paste it in. You have to wrap it in double quotes. So that's the cool thing about the image control. And actually, I have an image, right? It's not dynamic. I'm getting the same image for everybody. But we want to make this dynamic, and we're going to talk through that in a little bit. But the one thing that is really cool about this image control, not only can you specify the name of an image, you can also specify the URL to an image, as long as you wrap it in double quotes. All right? So once we have that, we're golden. meaning that now, because the piece that's going to be dynamic is just going to be this chunk right here. And there's a couple of things I'm hedging. I'm hedging that the extension, the file type of the image is always going to be PNG. I don't have the flexibility to flip-flop between GIF and JPEG and all the other image type options, SVG. So I'm hedging that, and I'm using this to my advantage. And then I'm going to hedge the prefix URL. So all these are going to be stored in the exact same location, the exact same folder, and the only thing that's going to change is the actual name of the file. That's going to give us a dynamic piece that we need. Now, I'm breaking these images up. So the pieces that are static, I have that wrapped in double quote. The suffix that's also going to be static, I have that wrapped in double quote. The thing in the middle is what I want to make dynamic, and to bring that in, I need a dynamic variable, and then I need the right syntax to concatenate. So the dynamic variable is going to be this item value, which we've been using all the time, right? So this item value is going to pop in, and as soon as I did that, you notice that I immediately received two images, handicap and other. The two that I did not receive was the ones that actually have spaces in them, right? Because my image names are nice and pretty. My image names actually do not have spaces in them. They actually have hyphens where the spaces would go in a friendly name, right? So to do that, we need to use our friendly substitute method. So substitute is a method. It's almost like a replace. It actually is a replace. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, why you just can't stick with the same standard names for standard things that we use like in C# and JavaScript. So the substitute is just like the replace. So you have the string that you want to manipulate, the value that you want to replace, in our case is spaces, with the value that you want to replace it with, in our case is a hyphen. And as soon as I do that and fix up that logic, all of my images come in. So now what I want to do, I want to make these nice and round, and I want to make sure they're all the same size. And because I'm dealing with the image control, I actually have full control over that. So let me select the image. Let me find my image control here in the gallery. All right, have it selected. And then what I want to do, I want to force a height and width on this one. Why is this under a... Oh, that's doing the positioning. Oh, so we're going to lose a feature. We're going to lose a feature. Well, no, maybe not. So what's happening is that these are wired that says if it's clicked, we have to update our variable, right? Because we're still using the old variable. So if var special equals this value, this is actually the magic. Like once you understand this, you can use this logic in many different scenarios. And that's what we're doing, especially in the gallery. If you want to hide certain things for only the selected item, if you want to do something for things that are not selected, you want to do something else, manipulating this logic and dropping these into various properties is the magic sauce. So if you figure this out, if you fully understand this, your creativity and your possibilities are endless. All right, so if this is the selected value, what I'm doing, I'm dropping this a few pixels smaller to kind of give it that selected effect, right, to make it smaller. So if it's not selected, I think what I want to do is go with a, let's just do a 120 by 120 square. And if it is selected, let's just do half of that. So let's just do a 60, all right? So we're going to do that for the height, and we want to do something very similar with the width. So if I go to the width, and I want these to be perfect squares because these images are going to come in different sizes and all this other stuff. So we don't want to deal with that. So let's just do 60 as selected. Okay, so this is my selected state. Actually, let me select this one. So this is my selected state. And what I want to do is move this check mark icon over a little bit just to kind of show that it's selected. There we go. And now if I select another one, there we go. So now I'm kind of getting that selected effect. And now my images are perfectly square. My alignment's off a little bit, but we'll fix that. So now that they're perfectly square to 120, 120, what you want to do is show a border radius on there. Now this is going to be interesting. a border radius of 120, and then it turns to a square when it's selected. No, that one didn't. Oh, maybe it's so small. Actually, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why this is round and the other ones are square. No idea. Okay, that's weird. But anyway, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and center our, so let's squeeze this a little bit, and now let's just center our icons and we'll wrap up this, this video. Oops. Let's center that. Good. All right, so now why is this way off? For some odd reason, this is not getting the full height. All right, I got to figure that one out. That's odd. Maybe I need a different image. And that's the other thing, like the source of these, like the original size, it's probably easier if you crop and make sure that all of these are the exact same size before using them within this solution. Because dynamically adjusting these, you kind of get these odd behaviors. And that's my guess. My guess is that this particular guy, for whatever reason, is a different size than everyone else. So I'm going to have to take a closer look at that. But that's an easy fix, right? That's just manipulating your images outside, uploading. You don't have to do any changes here. You just upload it into the images library, and then you get to go, what I'm doing here. Oh, I want to center this gallery. So I go here and center the gallery. And that looks good. All right? We'll fix this image. I don't know what's going on there. It's odd. It's nothing to do with the operation, right? Because the operation is going to be the exact same pattern for every item in the gallery. So it's just something off with this image. But we'll fix that. But outside of that, so now we have, if we do select other, we have the other option popping up. It's required. We have different images for all of our different choices within the gallery, and we're good to go and ready to rock and roll. All right, so any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to respond. In the next video, what we're going to do, we're actually going to go ahead and wrap this up by adding the validation checks, and then maybe a confirmation message, like showing that they're actually at the end. They're at the last screen. They get change this next button to a submit button to where they actually can submit it, and we kind of go from there, really just kind of wrapping it up. All right, so I'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care.